How's it going, everyone? I am back with another video. This is going to be a different type of video from my normal ones. This is going to be my NFL predictions for the award winners. There's a bunch of awards, but I'm just going to talk about kind of the main ones like MVP, offensive defensive player of the year, offensive defensive rookie of the year, comeback player of the year, and coach of the year. There's like a million other ones, but those are the main ones. So I'm gonna break down all the awards. Uh, I think Bleacher Report I'm on now has conveniently has all the betting odds, all the betting favorites, things like that. So I'm gonna break down all the awards, talk about who I think is gonna win the award and who I like me personally. Okay, how do I phrase this? Like me personally, who I think should deserve the award, and then I'll talk about who I believe is actually going to win the award. Hopefully that distinction makes sense. Um, so yeah, I'll just dive straight in here. Um, first one, obviously MVP. That's probably the main one. The finalists, you get Josh Allen, you get Lamar, you get Saquon, Burrow, and Goff. you know, uh, all these guys had great seasons, but it's not going to Barkley, Burrow, or Goff. It's either going to Josh Allen or Lamar. People are back and forth. It seems like a pretty even split from what I've seen kind of the whole year between Allen and Lamar. People arguing who they think should win MVP. Josh Allen's the betting favorite to do so. And I'll just start out. I do think Josh Allen is going to end up winning the award. I am fine if either him or Lamar wins it. I think they're both more than deserving. Tony Romo talked about it a couple times during the season. I think, maybe they can do a co-MVP. I don't think they're going to do that. Um, they've only done it once before, if I'm not mistaken, way back in the day. Um, I don't think they're going to do that though. I think they're going to give it to Josh Allen. Uh, and Tony Romo talked about this. I think a big reason is going to be because voter fatigue. Lamar's won two of them. He won it last year. Are they really going to give it to Lamar 2 years in a row? And I know playoffs aren't supposed to factor into it. It's supposed to be purely a regular season award. And I do believe the voters vote before the playoffs start. But obviously, if the playoffs counted, Josh Allen's case would be even stronger because obviously Allen and Lamar played each other in the playoffs, and Allen came out on top. Even though I don't think Josh Allen did too much that game, and Lamar I thought played a pretty good game outside the turnovers. Obviously, you can't take away the turnovers, but I thought Lamar played a pretty good game, better than most people I think are kind of talking about giving him credit for. But yeah, I don't think playoffs. I'm pretty sure, like I said, the voting takes place before the playoffs. But yeah, I think voter fatigue is going to be a big reason. Just give Allen one. He's been in the conversation for years, but he had his best year this year. Maybe not statistically. Let me look at my notes. He had like about 3,700 passing yards, 3,731. He's had more than that. At least I don't know off the top of my head. I think he did. I'm gonna assume at least he did. When they had Diggs, they were kind of a more of a pass heavy team. Ever since Joe Brady took over, they've been a run heavy team. But yeah, Josh Allen, he cut down on his turnovers. That was a big knock on Josh Allen, even when he was slinging it left and right, getting a bunch of yards, touchdowns, things like that. He only had six picks this year. Fumbles, I'm not sure off the top of my head, but I know he definitely cut down on those a bit. But yeah, voter fatigue, I think is going to be the main reason Josh Allen wins. He's more than deserving. I mean, purely based off of him and Lamar, I think that's going to be a main reason. I personally think Lamar should win it. And again, I'm fine with Josh Allen winning it, but I think Lamar should win it. I think Josh Allen will win it, but I personally believe Lamar should win the award. And I like to use. I'm kind of a stats guy, numbers guy. Sometimes I think they can be misleading, so it's important to sometimes look at them with context. But if you just look at the stats, Lamar had 4,172 yards, so nearly 400 more pass yards than Josh Allen. He had 41 touchdowns, only 4 picks. That's absolutely insane. His picks weren't even really his fault. He had a 119.6 passer rating, and he had about a 67% completion percentage, 66.7. Josh Allen, I mentioned, is 3,731 passing yards. He had 28 touchdowns, 6 picks. He had a 63.6 completion percentage, and he had a 101.4 passer rating. Now, Josh Allen's numbers are, again, more than deserving of the MVP. Very impressive. But Lamar, in terms of passing yardage, touchdowns, picks, passer rating, and completion percentage, outdid Josh Allen in every category. Now, I guess this is this is what happened last year. It was kind of the opposite. Josh Allen outdid Lamar statistically, but Lamar won the MVP. I think it's going to be the opposite this year. I think Lamar deserves it more, but I think Josh Allen will win it. Kind of the opposite of last year. And again, Lamar, you can say, has better weapons. Obviously, he's got Derrick Henry. He's got Mark Andrews. The Bills, took an interesting approach this year. Kind of, obviously, they got rid of Diggs. They kind of don't have like a top tier superstar receiver. So, you can say Josh Allen's weapons were less. Josh Allen, you can argue Josh Allen finished with a better record. Bills won 14 games. The Ravens only won 12. Then you can counter say, well, Lamar blew Josh Allen out. Well, again, it's the Ravens blew the Bills out, but obviously it's Lamar and Josh Allen on those respective teams. It really is back and forth. You can argue either guy, but I think Lamar should win it. I think Josh Allen will win it. Now, Saquon, again, if it is someone other than Allen or Lamar, I will be beyond shocked. I think it's certainly going to one of those two. Again, probably Allen, the betting favorite. Saquon, you can make a good argument for too. Obviously, he had one of the best years a running back has had in history. The Eagles were just offensively, they relied on him heavily. He basically was most of their offense. Just absolutely had a monster year. Probably would have broken Dickerson's record against his old team, the Giants. That would have been more satisfying if they played him week 18. Now, Saquon, but had a great year, but it's kind of a QB award, pretty much. Joe Burrow, if the Bengals had made the playoffs, I don't think Joe Burrow would have won the award, but he would have gotten a couple votes or points, however they do the system. I believe it's a point system. So maybe he would have gotten some points. Joe Burrow, to me, I don't know. I'll have to think about this. I think there's a pretty good argument. You can say that Joe Burrow had the best QB season out of everyone this year. Now, that's an argument itself. Obviously, they didn't make the playoffs, the Bengals, so that's kind of a disqualification for Burrow, even though it wasn't his fault. But Joe Burrow, hell of a year. Jared Goff, obviously, the Lions were the top team in football this year, 15 wins. Obviously, disappointing in the playoffs. And again, playoffs aren't supposed to really matter. Again, I think the vote takes place before the playoffs start. Goff had a great year, obviously, but there's kind of a rough patch he had where they were winning at the start of the season. Their offense was kind of not quiet, but not up to the standards we were expecting it to. And then kind of mid-season, not mid-season, but maybe like a quarter of the way through the year is when their offense really clicked. Goff had a really great year, but again, I think it's either going to Allen or Lamar. So officially, I think Josh Allen will win it. I personally believe Lamar should win it. Offensive Player of the Year. Well, this is an easy one. If Saquon does not win this award, I will be beyond shocked. He's the huge betting favorite. He's at minus 3,000 here. I think Saquon should get it. So this one, I perfectly agree with the betting odds. I mean, again, if Saquon does not win it, I'll be beyond shocked. Obviously, all the guys on this list had great offensive years. Jamar, Triple Crown, Joe Burrow, I was just talking about him. Lamar, obviously talking about him. Then Derrick Henry, he transformed the Ravens too. He had a hell of a year. But Saquon was just another breed this year. Just if he does not win this award, I wouldn't believe it. I just would be beyond shocked. It's certainly his award to lose. And again, if he wins the award, I think absolutely everyone will be shocked. So yeah, I think Saquon will win it. I believe he will win it. Um, Defensive player. This is kind of a weird one. Like MVP, offensive player of the year. Well, offensive player of the year. I think everyone unanimously it's going to be Saquon. MVP is kind of between Allen and Lamar. It feels like defensive player of the year. You can make a case for kind of anyone. The finalists, all these guys had great years. But Pat Surtain is the favorite. Trey Hendrickson, kind of a quiet number two. The Bengals defense was beyond god awful this year. So, not a lot of people were talking about Trey Hendrickson, but he had a hell of a year. How many? I believe he was the leading leader in sacks for the league. Let me see how many sacks Hendrickson had. He was an absolute tank this year. Let's see. Yeah, he had 17 and a half on top of 46 overall tackles too. So hell of a year for Hendrickson. Um, so you can make an argument for him. Usually this award goes to an edge rusher. TJ Watt, always in the conversation multiple times. He's won this award. Myles Garrett always in the conversation too. He won it once, I believe. Yeah, he won it once, just once, I believe. Zack Baun, underrated year. The Eagles defense, number one ranked defense, hell of a defense this year. Who do I think will win the award? I think if I had to guess, I would probably. This is probably the hardest one for me. I would probably say Pat Surtain, who I think it's either going to be Surtain or Hendrickson. Maybe Watt statistically didn't have his best year, but again, he's always doubled and things like that. But Watt's to see. I mean, him and Hendrickson are tied at plus 700 for the betting odds here. I don't think it's going to be Garrett or Zack Baun. I think it's going to be either Surtain, Hendrickson, or Watt here. I'm going to say I think it's going to be Surtain, but honestly, I'm not too confident with that. I kind of want to say I think it might be Hendrickson. Oh, I don't know here. I don't know here. This is a hard one for me. I think it's going to be Surtain. God. I don't know. I don't know, actually. I'm kind of back and forth. Oh boy. All right, I'm gonna pull up their stats again. Let me check some things out here. Yeah, this is definitely the hardest one to pick, I think. Yeah, I think this is definitely the hardest one to pick out of the awards here. Again, I think all these guys are deserved. I think Zack Baun. Okay, I don't want to say stretching it, but I think out of these guys, I would be fine if Surtain, Hendrickson, Watt, or Garrett got it. Again, this is really hard for me to pick. Oh boy. Just checking some stats here. Give me 1 second. Fuck it. All right, you know what? I'm just gonna say I think Surtain's gonna win it. Again, that's kind of a bold pick. I believe, yeah, the last corner that won it was my old guy from the Patriots, Stephon Gilmore. He had a hell of a year that year. Our 2019 defense, God, that defense was good. It's just our offense. We had no weapons. We had, all right, I'm getting off topic a little right here, but we had Demaryius Thomas in the preseason. We cut him. We had, unless I was missing something, he seemed like an absolute lock to make the roster. We had Josh Gordon. We had Antonio Brown for that game against the Dolphins week 2. Obviously, we had Edelman that year. Our tight end one was Ben Watson, came out of retirement that year, 39 years old. I remember off the top of my head correctly there. God, we had so much potential. But anyway, and we could have had AJ Brown too, but obviously we cut Antonio Brown, we cut Demaryius Thomas, as I mentioned. Josh Gordon we cut, and we had Edelman, who had a banged up shoulder as our top receiver that year, 33 years old, I believe, at the time. But anyway, getting off top here, Gilmore certainly deserved it that year. Surtain had a, he has a hell of a year every year, but he was absolute lockdown this year. And, with DBs and it's kind of like they're kind of in a weird spot where it's like, well, you might think they're having a quiet game because their name isn't getting said a lot during the broadcast. Well, a lot of the time that's actually a good thing because that means they're doing their job. They're locking down whoever they're guarding. If their name gets said, unless it's like a pass breakup or something like that, or sorry, if their name gets said, it's usually like they're getting beat on the play coverage wise or something like that, or if they, make a PBU, a pass breakup, things like that. But I think again, I'm fine with any of these guys winning it. Well, I know I said Garrett too, but I don't know. I get Garrett might be stretching it a bit. Bond, I think, is stretching too, but I'd be fine if I guess Watt. But honestly, even I don't know. Yeah, I'd be fine if Surtain, Hendrickson, or Watt won it. Garrett, I might feel like it might be a stretch. Bond, a bit of a stretch. But yeah, I think Surtain deserves it out of these guys. If I had to pick, do you know what? Hmm, honestly, I don't know. I think Hendrickson deserves it a bit more than Watt, and I this year. And you can, you can kind of maybe make the argument voter for T2. Watt's won it multiple times. Hendrickson hasn't, so that might factor into Hendrickson winning it. I think Pat Surtain is going to end up winning it, though. I think he deserves it the most. I feel like his name was barely said all year. He's just complete lockdown. Hell of a year. Denver had a great defense this year. So yeah, I think Surtain's going to win it. I I think he deserves it too. Again, I mean, what I mean by that, all these guys deserve it, I think, but I mean, going with my theme here, I think Surtain will win it. I personally think I would pick him too. I think is what I'm trying to say here. But that one is definitely the hardest one. Offensive Rookie of the Year. Well, this is another easy one. Jane Daniels, if he loses this award, similar to Saquon losing, if he loses Offensive Player of the Year, I'll be beyond shocked. Jane Daniels, this is definitely going to him. I would be shocked otherwise. I think Jane Daniels deserves it too, so I'm on the same page of that one. Obviously, Jane Daniels a massive betting favorite here. You can make an argument for honestly any of these guys, though. All these guys had fantastic rookie years. Brian Thomas Jr., very under the radar year. The Jags were so bad, so that's probably why. But he had over 1,000 yards. Malik Neighbors, he had over 1,000 yards too, and he had a Cinderella, or not a Cinderella, a revolving door at quarterback there. Bo Nix had a great year too. Put up some good stats. Obviously, the Broncos overachieved, I think, pretty much everyone's expectations making the playoffs. Bo Nix played a solid year. Brock Bowers set rookie records, so you can make an argument for him. But Jane Daniels is a quarterback, so I feel like he's kind of at an advantage there, just being a quarterback. You know, um, I will say though, even when the Commanders were, they were hot during the regular season, he was having some at least passing in some passing stats there that he wasn't lighting it up. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't great either. And they were still winning. So you can maybe knock him a bit there. You can say Brock Bowers, had a revolving door of quarterbacks and he still set records. But Jane Daniels, again, quarterback. I think I don't mean to knock Jane Daniels. I'm a fan of Jane Daniels. It was, phenomenal watching him this year, seeing what he achieved. But just trying to make a case for, all the finalists here, I guess. But yeah, Jane Daniels, I think will win it. I think he should win it. And again, playoffs don't matter. Hypothetically, they shouldn't, at least according to the criteria. But Jane Daniels obviously made it to the NFC Championship game. So obviously that would boost his stock if playoffs are, in the criteria here. But yeah, that one's Jane Daniels' award to lose, I think. Defensive Rookie of the Year. Yeah, this is another easy one for me. Jared Verse, I think, deserves it. I think he's also going to win it. He's a big favorite here, too. The rest of the guys on the list, the Rams got 2 finalists in this award out of the 5 here. They all had great years, too. Chop Robinson. Dolphins defense was it was kind of up and down, but I think they actually finished like the fourth or maybe even third, like overall defense, which I don't know how the hell was that high. But I actually was a bit higher in the Dolphins defense than most people this year. Eagles also get two finalists on the list here. You get your rookie corners on the list here. That's a good sign for the Eagles there. Building looking to the future at least. Obviously, these guys all had great years. You get the corners, great coverage, locking them down. Brandon Fisk had a good year. Chop Robinson, very good year, but Jared Verse, just another level. I would be surprised if he doesn't win it. I think he deserves it. Just going to go with the safe pick, Jared Verse, in that one. Comeback player of the year. So this is kind of when the criteria maybe is a little questionable. So Sam Darnold, a lot of people picking Sam Darnold. I see this is I believe the criteria is like it's a you have to come back from like an injury or like some severe thing that like potentially set you back, you missed time and something like that. It's not just because you came back you played like awful last year and you came back at a hell of a year. That's kind of the case for Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold he wasn't hurt or anything last year where he missed games. He was just the backup for the 49ers. He just barely played pretty much, only in garbage time, and he started week 18 when the Niners rested their starters. They had the 1 seed clinch. Sam Darnold, obviously, though, had a hell of a year. He was even in the MVP conversation at one point. Obviously, the week 18 game against the Lions and then the wild card game against the Rams, he played horrible. But again, playoffs theoretically shouldn't matter. But again, that week 18 game will matter. Maybe the voters are thinking, all right, well, stakes to the highest, Darnold shit the bed. Maybe, we're going to factor that into the equation there. So Darnold is definitely deserving of the award if the criteria wasn't basically you sucked last year and you had a hell of a year this year. So I don't think Darnold, according to the criteria, he shouldn't even be a finalist, but he is. J.K. Dobbins, obviously, poor guy, always has some major injuries to overcome. He had a hell of a year, even had an injury this year. He got hurt against the Ravens. Their run game significantly fell off without Dobbins. He came back. He looked pretty good, I think. The Chargers offense statistically was much better with Dobbins in the lineup. He had a hell of a year. They kind of had to rely on the run this year a bit with not the greatest passing weapon. So Dobbins, he certainly, I think, not a lot of people talking about him. He's a big underdog at plus 2,500 in the betting odds, but I think he's deserving. I would not be upset if he won the award. Damar Hamlin, I think it's just going to be in this category every year, obviously, for what happened. Jesus, was it 2 years ago now? Obviously, he literally died on the field. They brought him back to life. He started this year though. He played a lot of meaningful football. Last year, he barely played. This year, so again, Damar Hamlin, according to the criteria, he barely played last year. He wasn't hurt or anything like that. I don't think he should be a finalist, but according to the criteria. But the criteria is just kind of a bit questionable for this award, I think. Damar Hamlin had a good year, I think. Nothing but respect for him. But I don't think he should be. I hope I'm not coming across as controversial here, trying to shit on what he overcame with, dying and coming back. But I just think he's on this list because of that. And I don't know how to say it. Hopefully you guys know what I'm talking about. I know it sounds like a complete dick, but my guy Gonzo, I don't think Gonzo, now he should fit under the criteria. Second team All Pro, by the way. Get a shout out Christian Gonzalez to that. Our defense was not very great this year, but Gonzo was absolutely locked down. I think he certainly would have won Defensive Player of the Year last year if he didn't get hurt against Dallas. That was the game Judon went down too. That was a disaster. We got blown out 38-3, if I remember right. Oh God, that was bad. But anyway, Gonzo fits under the criteria because he was hurt and came back from an injury, played a hell of a year. I don't think he's going to win it because he's a corner. Usually QBs, as I mentioned, with some of these awards kind of have an advantage, it feels like, just because of the position. And obviously, my team, the Patriots, were god awful this year, so he's trying to get overshadowed. As much as I love Gonzo, I don't think he's going to win the award. I certainly think he's deserving, though. If I had to pick, though, I think Burrow deserves it the most, and I think it will go to him. Burrow last year, even when he was playing, was hurt. There was some concern, a lot of concern about Burrow. He did not look great. The Bengals didn't look too great either. Then as soon as Burrow started to get into form, he got hurt. And, there was a lot of offseason concern about him. And Joe Burrow probably played the best year he has in the NFL. That offense was insane. Just their defense was so god awful. Joe Burrow, again, I mentioned it earlier, I think you can make an argument he was the best quarterback in the league this year. So I think Burrow will win the award, and I think he's deserving of it too. So that's my pick for that one. Excuse me here. Getting all congested here. Coach of the year. So Dan Quinn's the betting favorite. You get Kevin O'Connell, you get Andy Reid, you get Dan Campbell, you get Sean Payton. I personally believe it should be down Andy Reid. Again, obviously the Chiefs finished 15-2, but everyone expected the Chiefs to be good. So, respect to Andy Reid, but I don't think he is going to be winning the award. So that leaves it between Quinn, O'Connell, Campbell, and Payton. I would be fine if honestly any of them won. Sean Payton, I think might be a bit of a stretch. And again, Denver, everyone expected them to be bad this year. Sean Payton took them to the playoffs, but I think the other three are kind of more deserving. But yeah, Sean Payton, I'd be okay if he won the award, but I think the rest, O'Connell, Dan Quinn, and Campbell deserve it a bit more. Honestly, I would be fine if either of these three guys won it. This is really hard. I think Dan Quinn will win it. And again, playoffs should not matter theoretically according to all the award criteria. But and again, I think the voting takes place before, but obviously, what I was saying with Jane Daniels earlier, if the playoffs counted, Dan Quinn would have a huge boost, and that would pretty much eliminate Campbell because Dan Quinn knocked off Dan Campbell and made it to the NFC Championship game. And Kevin O'Connell, got blown out in the wild card round. So if the playoffs matter, Dan Quinn, I think, would certainly win the award. I think Dan Quinn will win the award because kind of similar to Sean Payton, I don't think a lot of people expected the Commanders to do much this year, and Dan Quinn got them to the playoffs. I just think they look better than Denver all year, and they kind of got more hype than Denver, and I think that's going to factor into the voting here. I think Dan Quinn will win it. Who do I think should win it? Again, I would be fine with Quinn, O'Connell, or Campbell. Honestly, God, I don't know. I would be fine with any of them. Very hard for me here. I honestly, maybe a little controversial. I think Kevin O'Connell or Dan Campbell might deserve it a bit more than Dan Quinn because Dan Quinn, he's the head coach, so he's responsible, in charge of the whole team. But Dan Quinn's a defensive guy. The Commanders' defense was good this year. It wasn't awful. It was decent. It was solid, you can say. But obviously, Jane Daniels was in the offense were the main reason the team was as successful as it was. And again, Dan Quinn, I don't know. I'm just a fan. But Dan Quinn's a defensive guy. I'm sure he obviously helped Jane Daniels in the offense develop, prepare, things like that. But I think defense is his specialty, and the offense is kind of the bright spot of that team. So maybe you can knock Quinn for that a bit. But between Dan Campbell and Kevin O'Connell, I'm gonna narrowly give it to. Oh God, I don't know. This is really hard. I think Dan Campbell deserves the award. Oh God, I don't think he's gonna win it. But I think he might deserve it more. Kevin O'Connell, obviously not a lot of people expected much in the Vikings. I think everyone kind of expected him to be mid. This not awful. They had higher expectations than I think Washington and Denver, but no one expected them to pull off 14 wins like they did. So Kevin O'Connell, you can make it a great argument for. But Dan Campbell, the Lions won 15 games. And again, playoffs shouldn't matter. Obviously, that's a different story. They did. Quinn would certainly, almost certainly, win the award. But Dan Campbell, 15 wins, multiple blowouts, putting up 50 plus sometimes. Had a couple nice comeback wins, like against the Texans, for example. That offense. Well, actually, I don't. Did they have that many? I guess the Rams week one, you can say they came back, but I don't think they had too many comeback wins. And I'm thinking about it, but they just looked like the best team in football all year. They finished as the 1 seed. Again, a lot of people expected the Lions to be good this year, but they were on another level this year. Just injuries defensively completely derailed them. So again, I think you can make an argument for any of these guys to win the award, but specifically my top three, probably in order, are Campbell, O'Connell, and Quinn. I think Quinn will win the award though. Um, so yeah, just to recap here, and again, something I didn't mention with Allen Lamar, I didn't mention, excuse me, your throat is killing me right now. I didn't mention rushing touchdowns between Allen and Lamar. Let me see how many rushing touchdowns they both had. Um, wait, sorry, just give me 1 sec here. Come on. Oh boy. Um, Sorry guys, give me 1 second here. I don't know why it's being so not cooperating with me right now. All the stats are. Um, oh my God, come on. All right, why? All right, all I wanted to look at is their rushing touchdowns. Jesus, why is this so complicated? Um, okay, here we go. Okay, he had 12. All right, so let me write this down. So that's 40 overall touchdowns for Allen. I know he certainly had more than Lamar. Lamar, I think, had a few. Yeah, he had four. So yeah, that brings the total to 45 for Lamar touchdowns and 40 to Josh Allen. That's definitely worth mentioning too. Again, you can make an argument for either guy. I think Lamar slightly deserves it more. But anyway, I'm just going to do a quick recap here. MVP, I believe Josh Allen will win it. I think Lamar should win it. Offensive Player of the Year, I think Saquon wins it. Think, uh, I personally think he should win it too. That's an easy one for me. Defensive Player of the Year, this one's can go anywhere. I think Surtain will win it. I think either him or Hendrickson's going to win it. Honestly, kind of a coin toss for me. I think Surtain will win it. I think he slightly deserves it more than Hendrickson, but honestly, I wouldn't be mad at all if Hendrickson won it. Offensive Rookie of the Year, again, I think Jane Daniels will win it. I believe he deserves to win it too. Defensive Rookie of the Year, I think Verse will win it, and I personally believe he should win it too. Comeback Player of the Year, again, the criteria is a bit foggy on this one, but I think Burrow will win it, and I think he deserves to win it. Then Coach of the Year, I think Quinn will win it, but I believe Campbell should win it. So a quick recap here. So yeah, be sure to. I never tune into the awards. I just look at the updates on my phone anyway. But if you guys are interested, tune into the awards, see who wins. Uh, MVP kind of back and forth. Allen and Lamar could go either way. Defensive Player of the Year can go either way. Comeback Player of the Year, you can make an argument. I feel decent that Burrow will win it. Coach of the Year, you can argue any guy too. I think Quinn will win it. But yeah, a couple awards seem to be locked down, like offensive, defensive Player of the Year. Or sorry, not defensive player of the year, offensive player of the year, offensive rookie of the year, and defensive rookie of the year. But yeah, should be an interesting awards night. See who gets the awards. Social media, I'm sure, is going to be, back and forth on a couple of them. Like if Lamar wins it, they'll be in a frenzy over Josh Allen should have won it and vice versa. Same with Coach of the Year. All the awards that can go to multiple guys, it seems like. So it should be an interesting awards. If you guys are interested, obviously tune in. But yeah, I will end my video here. Thank you guys for tuning in. Have a good one. Hopefully you enjoyed. Take it easy, guys.